waking up and the bed was made. No one looked me in the eye. The more I tried, the more I cried, and it's all for the best.
Well, welcome back everyone to the Columbus Comics Corner Talking Legion, Chapter 5 this time around. We're making some progress with this show.
Yeah, already on 5.
Already on 5, 3 episodes left. But yes, my name is Ryan. With me, as always, is Alan. We are here to discuss the latest episode of Legion. As always, you can find our podcast at columbuscomicscorner.podbean.com. You can download it there and on iTunes as well. And with iTunes, if you'd like to rate and review us, we would greatly appreciate it. Or if you want to send us an email, you can do so at columbuscomicscorner@gmail.com. What else is there? Oh, yes. I should mention before, we do have a podcast that comes out every Sunday as well. That's our main podcast, where we choose several comic books from all kinds of publishers that were released that week. And we discuss them, rank them, some honorable mentions. We got a hefty show coming up this Sunday, so make sure you guys check back. Usually late Sunday, but just really depends on whenever we start recording and ending. But I think this is going to be a long one just because we got Brandon and Trevitt from Marvel Minute coming on to discuss Inhumans vs. X-Men.
Yeah, that's going to be a conversation itself.
Plus a lot of other, some decent books. We're going to be talking the Action Comics. We haven't even talked off air about that yet.
No, we need to. We need to.
But that's going to be fun. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting show. But yeah, make sure you check back Sunday. It'll be on the feed along with this one and our movie corners that we do, and Talking Legion and New Comic Book Week. But how are you doing, Alan?
I'm doing good.
Cool. Yeah, just before we get into the summary of things, I kind of just wanted to mention, going along with Noah Hawley, the director and writer of the show, they released the Fargo Season 3 promo. And I know you mentioned that you hadn't seen the previous seasons, but I sent you this a little earlier. I figured I'd let you check it out and kind of see what you thought on this little promo they put out.
Well, obviously, I was a tad bit lost as to who the two characters were at the bar in the promo. But other than that, I kind of liked it. I thought it was kind of funny how they immediately, paid for the food and left as soon as the officer walked in. And then I liked the little trick with the sign where the sign said diner, but the R was out, and the N kept flickering in and out, so it kept saying die, 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 die.
Yep, that was a cool thing. Cool thing about Fargo is those are all brand new characters. Okay. So yeah, each season is set in a different, sometimes a different time. Because I believe the first one was the 80s and they went back to 70s. So yeah, it's cool how they rotate the cast. But Ewan McGregor with the weight and the mustache,
yes,
that was classic. And the officer she played in, I don't know if you ever saw The Leftovers at all. It was a weird show, but she's from that. But yeah, I'm pretty excited for that. I thought we mentioned that since it has to do with Noah Hawley and all. Before we get into our Legion discussion, but yeah, with that being said, let's get into this. So quick summary: David takes it upon himself to go and rescue Amy from D3. When the rest of the team arrive to D3, David has already wrecked shop and left with Amy. We get some answers to why his memories are so clouded and why it's kind of been the blur for them to kind of break into him. Also, we learned that David was adopted when he was a child, which raises some questions. The team head to David's childhood home to search for him, but when they find him, things go awry. Another good episode for me. What were some of your thoughts on this?
Great episode. This actually might have jumped to be my favorite episode.
Yeah, it's hard. Every week, it's like, man, that was really good. Oh, but I like this one more. Man, that was really good now. It's tough.
Yeah, this one was great for so many different reasons.
It really is.
And it it raised a question or a theory that I have now about something on the show. And it was something I was kind of sort of thinking before, but since we got a better glimpse and a better explanation for something on this episode, I now have a theory about one of the characters on the show.
Okay. Nice. And or let's go ahead and jump into that real quick then.
Okay. My theory is that the yellow-eyed devil that we've been seeing glimpses of here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, now that we finally got like an episode where we actually got a really good look at him, and they explained how they essentially called him a parasite.
Yeah.
I think that's the Shadow King.
Okay, I'm not familiar with Shadow King, so inform me and anyone else who may not be familiar.
All right. Well, the Shadow King is a character from the X-Men universe. Obviously, they're going to use somebody from the X-Men universe, considering the character they're using for the show. But the first time I remember ever hearing anything about him was he tangled in, I believe it was Cairo, Egypt, with Professor X way back when Professor X could still walk. He's a psychic being, like he's immensely strong, and he actually does feed off of people's psychic energy. And I believe his physical body was destroyed, and he ended up being trapped essentially on the astral plane.
Okay.
And he's essentially what they described. He's a parasite, and he'll go inside of a being that has great psychic power and feed off of them. The other thing that led me to think this is the Shadow King is because when we got a really good look at him, because they really showed him really good on this episode.
Yes, they did.
He strongly resembles what the Shadow King's physical body looked like.
Okay, I'll do some research into that once we get off air.
Yeah. When we get off air, look it up, and you'll probably be like, "Oh, yeah, that might actually be the Shadow King."
And that was like one of the big answers that we got to, kind of relating to why they weren't able to, why the memories are so jumbled, is because the parasite, possibly Shadow King, is doing this. He's the one that every time they get close, the Shadow King or the parasite is able to switch its mind and kind of erase it. Which in the end making it cloudy, hard for them to kind of get through to him. So that was probably one of the big answers, probably the biggest answer I think this episode was that.
That was, and all the fact that he was adopted. I mean, if people who were just now learning about the character or just watching the show and never knew anything about Legion, that may have been a surprise for them, but that wasn't really a surprise for me.
No, it was still cool it was shocking to hear though, still.
Yes.
I was like, oh, yes. Okay.
It was shocking to hear, and his reaction to it was definitely like, that was pretty emotional.
Yeah.
But that yet again lent me to believe that it was the Shadow King, because he has beef with Professor X. And if you can't get directly back at Professor X, what's the next best thing? You go after his son, who was also, immensely strong. So you have all that psychic energy to feed off of.
I like where you're going with this.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I like where you're going with that.
Yeah.
Nice. It's really hard to outside of maybe trying to pick up who her character is, it's really hard. They make it really hard to try to come up with a theory of what's going on. And we'll get to that by the end of this episode. But I want to mention, kind of starting off, as soon as this episode started, there was a complete switch in David and Sid, for that matter, because where we left off with the last episode, what is it? Aubrey Plaza's character, that's when she kind of turned him. So yeah, I thought it really set the tone for the episode. That was.
It did. He had David had a switch from the very start of the episode, but once he introduced Sid to the White Room,
yes,
then that's when she completely changed too.
Yes. And
one of my favorite parts in the episode was actually after they had been to the White Room a few times, when they were sitting there trying to talk about how to go in and rescue his sister.
Yeah, with Millie Bird.
The way they were sitting on the couch.
Yes. And the whole tone, their tone. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, but no, just what you're about to say, their whole tone and demeanor, how they were talking to her, and the fact that Sid was willing to sit so close, because the whole series so far, because of her abilities, she's been really standoffish about them being really close to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And in that scene, she was as close to him as she could be without actually having that physical contact, that skin to skin.
And that was
Like she still had her gloves and stuff on, but she was essentially almost all over.
She was very comfortable. You could tell, like more comfortable than she's been. And that was possibly the Shadow King, playing with her as well and kind of manipulating her since she's the one that's been closest to him so far.
And, I thought about that, but I think that he didn't step in until it was the next time they went into the White Room when he stepped off to go to the bathroom. And he stepped off to go to the bathroom. You could hear him talking, and then they went into the bathroom.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I know what you mean now. Yeah. In the White Room. Gotcha, yeah.
Yeah. I think that they've been using the red to kind of symbolize when it's... Because now we know that the little bobblehead figure with the knife.
Mm-hmm.
We know
the dog,
the yellow-eyed demon. Like we've learned that all of these things we've been seeing are actually the same being.
Yep, Benny.
Benny. We've learned that Benny is, which kind of that surprised me a little bit.
Yeah. I guess it surprised me. Then it kind of just went over my head real quick because the next thing happened so fast. It happens so much in this show.
There was so much happening.
And then they touched on the Oliver Bird mystery. Kind of when David came back, he was talking to Melanie Bird. He was like, "I saw your husband. He's really into beat poetry now." And that was another cool thing we learned. We learned that Oliver Bird's powers, he is psychic, just like David. Yep. And he's been trapped for 21 years, which is pretty crazy. And go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that was a good little moment. That whole interaction when he was telling her about her husband and when she revealed how long he's been there. But she was taken aback from the moment that they just waltzed in there and was like, "Look, this is what we're gonna do." And she was like, "Well, we need to plan." And Sid, what do you think? And she's like, "No, this is my man. I'm with him."
Yeah.
Like if he's going,
every step of the way. Yep. And they have that conversation later on too. I thought that was before we get there, man, it's so hard not to jump around.
I know.
So the Carries, the female Carrie is still alive, which is cool to see.
Happy.
Yeah,
I'm
me
happy.
too. And I thought Bill Urban, who plays the male Carrie, he does such a good job playing as if there are two characters inside of him.
Yes. Because
after they enter, he's having this conversation, trying to do a little research into what's going on with David's mind, and there's just that back and forth. It's kind of weird to say they're having, you know what I mean? But it's cool to see though. And one big thing before we kind of get to the scene where they're about to try to figure out how to go to D3, Sid's virginity. I thought that was it was a kind of a weird scene. But
yes, it was.
But it helped play to I'm going to call him the Shadow King now until we're right or wrong. But kind of playing on what the Shadow King brings out in her. But we still learned something about her, but it was the weirdest thing we could learn about her yet. Yeah.
It seemed almost like, since she's essentially, we've compared her to Rogue many times on these discussions.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like, because that I'm aware of, she's not an actual character in the comics. Like she's something made for the show.
Yeah.
But it seems like they were like, okay, well, she's like Rogue, so let's make her, when her powers manifested, let's make it similar to Rogue's. But so this is a crazy show. How can we make it crazy? Because Rogue's happened when she was intimate with her boyfriend and kissed him, and hers happened when she was really intimate with somebody.
Really intimate, yes. Essentially, I mean, we are. I guess if you haven't figured out by now, we are spoiling this podcast.
Yes, so much spoilers about to happen.
Yeah, but yeah. So
I was gonna say, if they didn't pick up by me throwing out suggestions about who this characters are and everything, like, this is gonna be so much spoiling going on.
But yeah, essentially, she lost her virginity to her one of her mom's boyfriends, and she was 16 at the time. And with her powers, one night they got drunk, or her mom and her boyfriend got drunk, and she touched her mom and switched bodies. And while they were having sex, her powers weren't fully formed yet. So essentially, she pulled an Emma Frost and revealed who she actually was. And she kind of describes how everyone's yelling, everyone's screaming and whatnot. But then after that, she's like, talks to David. She's saying, if things ever get worse, make sure we're together. So, and that kind of plays into what's going on at the end. Man, once we get to that end, whew, boy.
Oh boy.
Well, yeah, let's move on to when the team is trying to figure out their plan to go to D3. What were some of your thoughts on that scene?
I have to side with the general plan that they had to just because originally they wanted to watch and get some reconnaissance and everything before they go in there, because they're like they're going to be ready for you after what you pulled last time. So we have to try to find some kind of way to catch them off guard. Like the general plan was sound, but whether or not it's because he's been completely taken over at this point by I don't know if we're gonna keep calling it the Shadow King, but by the demon.
Yeah, we'll say the demon for now.
By the yellow-eyed demon. It's not really clear if he was all the way taken over at that point, or if he was just like because we've been seeing him slowly as his powers have been growing. We've been seeing him get slowly a little bit more cocky because he's realizing, like, yes, I do have powers and I can do some amazing things.
Mm-hmm.
So he seems to be getting more and more like, cocky about it and getting a Superman complex where it's like, I can go in there by myself if I need to and just take everybody out.
And they were definitely playing with his mental state at this point. In this episode, that was not the David that we've known.
No,
that's definitely the yellow-eyed demon David.
Yeah, he was not timid about anything. He was just like, let's do this. Let's go right now.
And even in that scene where they're talking, Melanie's like, he's not nervous anymore, and that's what worries me. But Sid's like, he's my man. I'm going with him because she's under this spell. And it was so funny when I'm trying to remember what part it was. Oh, I think Ptolemy's talking to Melanie, and he's like, what is your stake in all this? Do you just want to bring Oliver back? And the dude behind him, Rudy, kind of like turns and just like walks away. I thought that I laughed so hard. He's like, I'm just gonna go over here. That was some great like subtle humor. There's some. I love the subtle humor that's like thrown in every once in a while, and it's usually good. That's a Fargo feel coming out. I love it.
That, and I think you have to have that in any adaptation of anything that's a comic book. I think at certain points you got to have some kind of at least subtle humor. You don't have to be over the top all the time, but because it reminds you, like, this is a comic book.
Yeah.
These characters are, this is, yeah, we're gonna have some serious storylines and stuff, but it still has to be fun somewhere, even if it's something subtle.
Yeah, no doubt. And yeah, Ptonomy though, he's more and more getting tired of having to deal with David. He's like, he let himself go. We shouldn't have to go after him. We're not his kid, and that's kind of when Melanie's pushing for them to go, and that's when he kind of brings up Oliver. But yeah, he's not the biggest fan right now.
I was just gonna say, and then his face when it was revealed that they know for a fact now that he has split personalities.
Mm-hmm.
And when it was revealed, he was kind of like, really? So, I went through all that crap and all that trouble, and and this dude is like legitimately crazy.
Yep. I love the acting on this show. It's top notch. And I should also mention, speaking of Fargo, Rudy, the guy who plays Rudy, Brad Mann, he was in Fargo season 2. He plays like this silent hitman with a twin brother. It's interesting. That's good. Good stuff. Oh, what else was there? So what happened after that? What was the scene after that? So we get to D3.
That's what I've been waiting for.
Whew.
I have been
And
waiting for that because I thought I was going to be disappointed when we first got to
he wrecked some
D3.
shop. He wrecked some shop.
But the thing
Body
is,
parts everywhere.
yeah, people stuck in the ground, on the
Yep.
wall, like legs hanging out of everywhere, and the thing is, at first I was like, oh man, this is gonna be one of those things where we're just gonna see the carnage that he caused, and it's gonna be like 2 episodes later where we're finally gonna see what happened, and we're probably not gonna know what happened. And then they finally got into D3 and they found the security room and started watching the footage, and my goodness.
And that's where we learned that, Shadow, or the demon, the yellow-eyed demon, completely has taken over, and because the demon knows that he wants Amy badly, so he's gonna, he put that rage in him just to wreck shop, and yes, he did it. But the eye, for some reason, I guess my only nitpick would probably be the whole eye thing, and kind of how he just seemed to be in the shadows. I would have liked to maybe seen like quick scene on why and how he was not there, or where he was when all this happened. But minor nitpick though.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too. 'Cause I was like, we see all this carnage. We see I'm going to call him the director.
Yeah, the director. Yep.
Because he was there, and we haven't seen him since like the first episode. And we saw him because he was like, it wears a human face.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole time I was like, where's the eye at? And then all of a sudden he creeps out the trees when they're leaving. I'm like, this dude was in the bushes. Like
oh no, that's when he was following them. He kind of just appeared.
Oh no, he just
walked
up
away.
at D3.
But no, you're right.
Yeah, he just kind of popped up at D3. Like he just walked out of nowhere.
Yeah, when they made it to his house, that's when they like focused on him in the bushes. I thought that was really cool. That was a really cool shot because it's kind of shaky, and while they're zooming in.
It reminded me of like a shot that they would have used like in the 70s or even like old kung fu movie. They had that shot where like they zoom in real fast.
Yes, it's really hard to. I want to say this is in the 70s, but it's funny because Patami is always carrying around that Tommy, like that
Tommy gun. I was wondering that too. This episode, this episode, I was like, this dude always has a Tommy gun.
Always. Oh man. And then once they finally make their way to the house, the parasite's speaking with Amy, and that's kind of when we learn that he was adopted, and Amy's freaked out at this point because Aubrey Plaza's character comes into play, and she's kind of like torturing her. I guess at this point it kind of turned into a really cool horror vibe.
Yeah, from the moment she stepped through, it was like she stepped through the another world almost.
Yes, yeah, it was. I love the horror vibe to it. It was really cool. What were some of your thoughts on that scene?
Well, first of all, I was like, okay, is he playing with her mind now, or because we know that David is extremely powerful. He has so much power that it's almost unknown to the people on the show as to what he can do. But knowing the character in the comics, I know that there's almost nothing he can't do. Like he has so many abilities that it's just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering, like, did the demon literally, come from the astral plane or step out of his head? And then it was quickly answered that, it was basically a mental projection.
Yeah.
But yeah, from the moment that happened, the rest of the episode took on like a horror movie aspect.
Oh yes, very 70s horror too, and that's because at one point the eye, we believe, may have killed Rudy at this point because we don't see what happened to him. And that was, I guess, that was my other nitpick. That was kind of confusing too because unless that was the eye creeping into the door, because like when Rudy turns the corner, they turn back and you see the door like crack open, but we're not really sure if that was the eye or possibly the parasite demon. So that was my another little nitpick, but I can look past it. But essentially, the eye takes over Rudy's body and shapeshifts him to him. And when they find David, Amy, and Sid in the room, because Sid comes in at one point and that's when the parasite. That was a really weird scene, not weird, cool scene. Going along with the horror vibe. That's when Aubrey Plaza's character kind of like ropes, like an imaginary rope around Sid, and kind of sucks her, throws her up against the wall. I thought that was really cool how they played that off. It's hard to describe because this show goes everywhere. It's so many points. Like I said, I probably say it every episode, but I have to watch this 2 times before we record because I know I'm going to pick up on things a second time, and I know if we watch it a third time, we would pick up on more things. It's crazy.
Well, it was crazy because once we got to that part, like just so much stuff was happening because he had that where she was thrown up against the wall, and then the decision. I must say the decision was made. The decision to shoot David.
Yes. And
Sid was having none of that. And that was another part where like it got a little bit more weird because Sid, obviously that's her man. Like she said earlier, she's with him to the end. Mm-hmm. She grabbed him and she's like, David, white room. And then they're in the white room and it's like, okay, wait a minute. Are they? Is he creating the white room as a literal place? Because the whole episode, I took it as the white room being like a mental. A mental,
yeah.
It's similar to the cube room in the astral plane.
Mm-hmm.
And then that happened, and for a second, I was like, wait a minute. So is he physically making a white room? Is he physically taking them to this place? But
maybe he created it at that point, like at that split second. I know what you mean, though.
But see, after that brief shock hit me and wore off, I had another idea. Like, well, maybe since it's mental, a second here on the astral plane or on the mental plane could be like an hour or 2. So maybe so that she could have more time to try to save him, she chose to go to the white room because by the time the bullets actually get to where they're at in the white room, a day could have passed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, like you said, this is where it gets trippy. Because we get to the end and because another kind of to touch on your thing real quick. Because when we get to the white room, she is dressed in normal clothes. So yeah, was David dressed? No, he was dressed in his normal clothes as well. The clothes that he was wearing. So yeah, it's kind of confusing, especially when you bring it up again. But yeah, it gets really trippy because, the parasite starts to chase her and David freaks out and then we just jump right to Sid sitting around in a circle with all the characters.
Yep.
And Aubrey Plaza's character being the doctor. So just when you think, we're getting somewhere, not even we're getting somewhere, just it's moving along, in a normally fashioned way. They just twist it on you. So that's when I mentioned earlier, it's hard to make theories on this show, especially when it ends like that. Like,
yeah, because that shot was reminiscent of the first episode when she first met David. It was like that exact same shot and setup, except like you said, everybody in a circle are characters we've already seen. We saw the eye there. Of course, David was there. And that was just weird though, because it came out of nowhere. You're like, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
And then you start thinking, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, at first I thought it could have been the scene when I thought she maybe went back in time when she was actually at the psych ward. But then when we got the reveal of all the characters sitting around the circle, literally my mind was blown. I was like, okay, I have no idea where we're going now. But I would imagine, or obviously, I'm sure we're going to get answers next time around. But that's a cliffhanger right there.
And I will say this to you, that initial idea you had before the reveal of all the characters in the circle would have been a very valid idea, a theory, because one of his abilities is time travel.
Yeah.
So, like I said, we're dealing with a character that has so many crazy powers and everything that even a wild theory like, oh, they time travel back to the day they met, that would have been valid.
Yeah, three episodes left.
I know, and I'm trying to see how they're going to wrap this up in 3 episodes because personally, I think if this was like a comic book, like I think they could wrap it up in 2 issues. So I as of right now, with what we're seeing, I think everything can be wrapped up in 2 episodes. So to know that there's 3 left means that something really super crazy is about to happen.
Mm-hmm. They're gonna land this unlike Inhumans versus X-Men or Clone Conspiracy.
Oh no, this is gonna be. I think this is gonna be a very satisfying ending. I think a lot of our questions. I don't think everything is going to be totally answered, but of course it probably shouldn't be.
Right. Exactly.
To bait us
we're dealing
into
with
season 2. Yeah.
And wait for a season 2. Speaking of which, kind of off topic, I didn't even know that Iron Fist was coming out Friday.
Oh, I did.
So,
I am excited, even with all the haters around the world or around the internet right now. I'm excited for Iron Fist.
yeah, I saw a couple of headlines. I'm like, I'll watch it for myself. Well, so I mean, once I get around to it, I'm gonna at least try to watch the first 2 episodes.
I'm just gonna say this. I it personally irks my nerves when people make certain comments about comic book properties that have no idea about the property itself, the characters, or anything.
In this day and age, right now, too, it's
ridiculous.
But that's for another. We'll save that for our normal podcast, which you can find every Sundays on our feed at ColumbusComicsCorner.podbean.com. But I think that's really all I had for this episode so far. I mean, we could go on, but I don't even want to really speak about this until the next episode, because that cliffhanger, it throws any ideas out the window at this point in time.
Until you see what's actually going on, like there's not really too many ideas that you can have, or too many theories you can have. So I would have to agree. Like I'm definitely excited to see what the next episode is. Like I said, as of right now, this is my favorite episode of Legion.
Nice. And I keep forgetting to do this, but I've been wanting to rate these, and we're 5 episodes in, so maybe at some point we'll go back and give all our ratings. But what would you give this out of 10, though?
Out of 10?
Yeah.
I would actually give this a 9.
Okay.
And the reason it doesn't get 10 is because there are a couple little nitpicks here and there, and if those nitpicks weren't there, I would probably give this a 10.
I'm going to give it a 8.9.
Respectable.
Yeah, because I got some nitpicks as well, and I want more answers. The show's so good, though. But cool, everyone. Thank you again for sticking around and listening to us. We'll definitely be back next week. More than likely, this will come back out on Friday, or our episode will come back out on Friday. But yeah, go ahead and rate and review us on iTunes. We greatly appreciate it. If you want to give us any feedback, you can email us at columbuscomicscorner.gmail.com. Or, yeah, I said that right. And, but yeah, make sure you check back every Sunday on our feed as well for our new comic book week. And it's going to be a good episode. So make sure you come back, because we got some words for a lot of books.
Oh, yeah.
All right, everyone. See ya.
You're so beautiful.